Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So we are here in the second part of this video covering the grammar coverage of the end of term assessment for grades 11 advanced and 12 advanced. These are the included topics or the grammar topics for your assessment: participle clauses, relative clauses, reported speech, passives, future perfect continuous, and subordinating conjunctions. We're going to talk in details, doing some exercises together, and I added some links for you to practice these grammar. Okay, the first one to start with is participle clauses. Look at this example. After being selected for the UAE cycling team, Ali trained hard every day. So here, I mean that Ali put extra effort because he has been chosen. He's not the one who chose himself to represent his country, but he has been chosen by others to represent his country in a sports team. So instead of saying a long sentence, I just contracted that one, made it brief, and started my sentence with after being selected. I have two actions here. After being selected by others, Ali trained hard every day. So this form or this expression is called participle clauses. We use this form after we either use having or being plus past participle. Let's talk in details. What does it mean, participle clauses? They are different forms of verbs that allow us to express different aspects of tense. So we have three types of participle clauses. We have the present participle, where we add ing to the form: going, seeing, hearing, finding, knowing, and so on. We have the past participle, where I use the third form of the verbs like eaten, gone, seen, slept, finished, known, shown, taken, taught, bought, whatever. I have the perfect participle, where I use having plus past participle. So having known, having gone, having seen, and so on. Why do I use these clauses? Actually, these clauses allow us to say something in a briefer, as I said before, more economical way with less words. So in this example, instead of saying or writing, because I had already eaten, I declined the offer of some cake, I can say, having already eaten, I declined the offer of some cake. Having already eaten. Here I have two actions. One happened before another. So action one, I had already eaten, then I declined the offer. So I can say that in other words, in shorter words, like having already eaten. Pay attention that in clauses, participle clauses, I mean the subject of the participle clause and the main clause should be the same. Okay, so who had eaten? Who had already eaten? I. And who declined the offer? Also I. So the subject should be the same. So I replace this part because I had already eaten with this participle clause, which is perfect. This one, perfect participle clause. Another example here, I have waiting for the bus. I read a chapter of my book. So I replaced while I was waiting for the bus instead of saying this long sentence. And since I have the same subject for the main clause and the dependent one, as I have two clauses here, so I can say this form, waiting for the bus, which is present participle. Okay. In your end of term coverage grammar, they are focusing on using specific forms of these participles, especially after the word after. So I have two forms here. I have this one after having, after having finished her homework, Maria went to bed. So this sentence implies that I have two actions, one happened before another one. So action one here, I have that Maria had finished her homework, then she went to bed. So instead of saying after Maria had finished her homework, she went to bed, I can say that after having finished her homework. So I use this form of participle clauses. This one is the third form, which is perfect participle using having plus past participle. Another example here, after being informed. Who informed? The manager. Okay, so the subject here is the manager. Okay, here the subject is the receiver of the action. I have the meaning of passive. So someone has informed the manager of the situation. So I use this form, being informed of the situation, the manager called for a meeting. So this sentence means that the manager was informed first by others, then he or she, whatever, called for a meeting. So how do we form participle clauses? We use after, specifically here in this cabbage, we use after having or being according to the context, according to the meaning. So having, I use it when I have two actions, one happened before another. Being usually implies the meaning of passive. Then verb 3, then the main clause where I have the subject and simple past, etc. Okay, so this one is a structure involving a non-finite subordinate clause with after this clause, which is the participle clause, followed by having or being plus ed form of a verb 3. This one is used to indicate that one action happens after another in the past. Look at these examples. After having, where's my cursor? Okay. After having studied for hours, Sarah finally understood the concept. So this is action one. Sarah had studied for hours, then she understood the concept. After being stuck in traffic for over an hour, this is action one, they arrived at the airport just in time for the flight. This is action two. After having cooked the dinner, this is action one, Jason set the table for the guests. This is action two. The subject is the same one, Jason. After being told, here I have the meaning of passive. It implies passive. Someone told Emily about the job opportunity. It's not Emily herself who told herself about this job opportunity. Okay, so after being told about the job opportunity, she or Emily immediately updated her resume. After having run 3 miles, he felt exhausted but accomplished. Okay, so here action one, here action two. Okay, let's practice here. Let's rewrite these sentences, making the necessary changes. As this example, Lily completed her chores. She treated herself to a movie marathon. So action one, that she had completed her chores. So I can say, after having completed her chores, Lily treated herself to a movie marathon. Mark was scolded. Here I have what passive, like was scolded by his teacher. Mark promised to improve his behavior in class. So I can say that after being scolded by his teacher, Mark promised to improve his behavior in class. They visited, so I start with the subject who did the action. So they visited several museums. This is action one. They decided to explore the local cuisine. So here I have, after having visited several museums, they decided to explore the local cuisine. The children were awakened. Here I have a passive meaning, so I use being. After being awakened by the loud thunder, the children huddled together for comfort. Sam had solved the puzzle. Sam felt a sense of satisfaction wash over him. So here I have two actions, one happened before another. I can start with after having solved the puzzle, Sam felt a sense of satisfaction wash over him. Here I added for you many links to practice participles with the extra explanations. Okay, here we have the second topic which talks about relative clauses. Look at these examples. The athlete who had been training for months won the gold medal. Noticing a recent pattern of overall fatigue and loss of appetite which has significantly affected my mood, I decided to see a doctor. So here I have this part of the sentence who had been training for months. Who refers to whom? Who refers to the athlete, the subject of the sentence. So I understand that I use who to talk about people or a person. Noticing a recent pattern of overall fatigue and loss of appetite, which, here, which, does it refer to a specific noun or word? Actually, which has significantly affected my mood. This which refers to the whole idea of this sentence. It refers to noticing a recent pattern of overall fatigue and loss of appetite. So, which here refers to a whole idea or to a whole sentence. So, in this part, we're going to talk more in details about relative clauses. Firstly, what is a clause? I talked before about participle clauses, and now I'm talking about relative clauses. So a clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb. So to say these words make a clause, these words should contain a subject and a verb and is located within a sentence. So a clause comes in a sentence, but it doesn't have a meaning by itself. A clause, if it's not a main clause, if it's not a full sentence, it doesn't stand by itself or it doesn't have a meaning by itself. So if I say, who lives next to me? Okay, where's the predicate? What do you want? Okay, what do you want to tell me about that person who lives next to you? It doesn't have a meaning by itself. Since she laughs out loud. Okay, what happened next? Since she laughs out loud. So they don't have full meaning. Because Sally smiled at him. Okay, what does that mean? What happened before this? Okay, so these are clauses that cannot stand by themselves and give a full thought or a full meaning. They need another part in the sentence to give a full meaning. What is a relative clause? A relative clause modifies a noun. It identifies a noun. It comes after a noun to add information about this noun. Look here, I was scrolling on social media, okay, and I saw a friend. Now I want to add a piece of information about that friend who had been sharing positive news stories. I have to add something about this friend. I have to add information about this friend to know exactly whom I'm talking about. So because of that, I added this clause who had been sharing positive news stories. I saw a friend here. This is my main clause. Okay, I saw a friend. My relative clause is a clause that starts with a relative pronoun. It starts with a relative pronoun who had been sharing. This is a relative clause. It modifies the noun. Which noun it modifies? It modifies the noun that comes before. Okay. A relative clause directly follows the noun it modifies. So one of our teachers who had been living in KSA or Saudi Arabia for many years wanted to go back, so she planned a trip. So one of our teachers who came directly after one of our teachers. But can I say one of our teachers wanted to go back who had been living in KSA? No, it doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense to add a relative pronoun and a relative clause at the end of the sentence if it doesn't refer to a whole idea. Okay, so this one is wrong. Okay. Look here, we have also, as I said, a relative clause should start with a relative pronoun. We have different relative pronouns according to the noun or according to the word that we want to modify. So I have that, which, who, whom, whose, where, when, and why. So it's a pronoun that has an adjective clause or a relative clause. It could be adjective or relative clause. Adjective because it modifies the noun it describes. The dog that ate the cake is looking guilty. The dog, this is the noun that I want to modify. That ate the cake, this is my relative or adjective clause that modifies the dog. I have a list of relative pronouns. So who I use it for referring to people, which for animals, objects, or ideas, whose for position, mulkiya, that either for people, animals, or objects, but it has some restrictions. We'll talk about that now. Where for places, and when for time. Okay, so this is the order of a relative or adjective clause. I have the noun, then the relative clause itself should start with the relative pronoun, then a subject and a verb. Okay, so it adds information about the noun it modifies, like the rat that John saw yesterday was in the kitchen earlier. Specifically, I'm talking about what? About the rat that John saw yesterday. This is the piece of information about that rat. Okay, let's practice now. The man was tired. He caused the accident. My task is to combine these two sentences together in one sentence using a relative pronoun. So I know that the man, and I repeated the man here, and this is the main clause, this is the second clause. So instead of repeating the man, I used he. So now he, I can remove he, replace it with who, because I know that I use who for people. So then this is step one. Step two, I take this relative clause and take it directly after the noun that I want to modify. So I split my main clause between the noun, the relative clause, then the whole predicate or the complement of the sentence of the main clause. So this sentence becomes the man who caused the accident was tired. Another example here. The man is my uncle. He is coming towards us. Now I want to add information about that man. So here, the man who, again, the man who is coming towards us is my uncle. This is the horse. It kicked me yesterday. Now I want to add information about this horse. This is the horse. I know that horse is an animal, so I can use either that or which. So this is the horse which kicked me yesterday. Okay, the nails are rusty. They are in the toolbox. The nails that are rusty are in the nail box Instead of using they, referring to the nails, I used that. The nails that are in the books are rusty. A cow is an animal. It supplies us with milk. So I want to add information about a cow, and so instead of it, I can use which. So a cow is an animal which or that supplies us with milk. Extra examples here. A widow is a woman. Her husband is dead. Now here I'm not talking about a widow. I'm talking about her husband. So I have possession here. Mulkiya. So instead of her, I use whose. Sorry. Okay. Whose. A widow is a woman whose husband is dead. What was the name of the man? I'm not talking about the man, I'm talking about his car, which was broken down. So what was the name of the man whose car broke down? I know someone, now I'm talking about her father, not about that someone. I know someone whose father is a translator. Look here. Whose, whose, whose. Because here I have possessive pronouns. There was a big crowd. It soon gathered at the scene of the accident. I want to add information about this big crowd. So I say there was a big crowd which or that gathered at the scene of the accident. Instead of it here, I used which or that. Okay, let's fill in the blanks here with a suitable relative pronoun. My cousin Ethan. Ethan is a person, so here I use who. Sorry. Who. The shop I go to is close to downtown. I'm talking about a place that I go to. So the shop where I go to. Here, your shop, I'm describing the shop. I'm not talking about a place that I go to or I visit. So your shop, which will probably be shut down next year, is really old. So here I'm giving information about the shop as an object, not as a place. So because of that, I use which. Sorry for this bad handwriting. Anyway, miss, I'm going to just say them orally. I've met most of the people who are eager to take part in the competition. Do you know the reason? Whenever I have the reason, I use why. Do you know the reason why our offer was rejected? Do you remember the town? Here I'm talking about a town that an action happened in. So do you remember the town where you were born in? The neighbor, I'm not talking about the neighbor, I'm talking about their son or his son or her son. The neighbor whose son is always running around the street is a journalist. Okay, here I'm talking about the time. 1999 is the year when the big earthquake happened. I apologized to the woman. I'm not talking about this woman, I'm talking about her coffee. So, whose coffee? I spelled whose. My cat fur, I'm talking about my cat. So, which I love bit me yesterday because cat is an animal. I had never seen the guy who was following me yesterday. And the blonde girl in the lineup, I'm talking about the blonde girl who has a white hat won the race. My new car, I'm talking about a car, so my new car, which was in park, was hit from behind. Okay, so can I use here in this sentence 11 and 14? Here I said I use which and here which. Do you think that uh, I can use that instead of which? Actually, after comma, I can't use that because these sentences are non-defining. Let's see now what's the difference between a defining and non-defining sentence. So a defining clause is necessary for identification. It gives important and necessary information to the meaning. In defining clauses, we don't use commas around the clause. Okay? While non-defining clauses, they just add extra information, but they don't identify or tell which one exactly. In non-defining clauses, we use commas. Okay? Here, in defining clauses, I can use that in a place of who or which, while in non-defining, this one, I can't use that after comma. Okay. Sometimes I have a relative clause that refers to a whole idea, referring to a full clause to an idea, not to a specific noun. So, if a relative clause refers to a full clause, so the relative pronoun must be which. He was late. I'm talking about this situation, which was unusual. Which here refers to the situation that he was late. It's raining. This situation is really annoying, so because of that I use which. Ahmed, I'm old and I have spent most of my life doing the same damn thing. So, referring to the whole idea, I'm using which is too bad for me, but it's good for you. So here refers to a whole clause or sentence. We usually use this type of relative clauses to express an opinion or evaluation or to give a reason. When we were talking about defining and non-defining clauses, see the difference. It's the same sentence here between 1 and 2. My brother who lives in Cairo is an accountant. My brother who lives in Cairo is an accountant. We said without commas, it's a defining clause that adds important and necessary information to identify the person that I'm talking about or the thing that I'm talking about. This sentence without commas means that I have more than one brother, but specifically I'm talking about the one who lives in Cairo or in Dubai or, yeah, okay. The second one with commas, because we said that with commas it's non-defining a clause that adds extra information. So means that I have only one brother, but I'm just adding a piece of information about him that he lives in Cairo. Okay. Sometimes in relative clauses, we use past perfect continuous, which is had, been, plus ing. We use this form of relative clauses to describe actions or events that were ongoing or in progress before another past action occurred or happened. So it provides background information about the situation. The company, which had been struggling financially for years, yeah, so here I have the past perfect continuous, finally declared bankruptcy. So I use this form just to give background information about this company. Here I added for you some exercises that you can practice and a YouTube video you can watch for extra explanation. Okay, here we're talking about reported speech. Look at this example, and here we're focusing on reporting verbs. A recent study by Al-Amiri 2023 demonstrates that climate change is a major threat to biodiversity. We call demonstrates a reporting verb. Let's see reported speech, and let's see the reporting verbs that we use. Usually we use a wide range of reporting verbs such as demonstrate, illustrate, indicate, reveal, emphasize, highlight, claim, propose, plus the regular and the usual ones we use like told and said or asked. Okay, look at these two examples. You did very well in the exam yesterday, the teacher said. I added my sentence between quotation marks. This is what we call direct speech. Now, if someone wants to repeat these words or to report or to retell someone else about what the teacher said, she's going to say the teacher said that we had done here I don't have well. We had done well in the exam the day before. So look at the changes between the direct and the indirect one. Firstly, we removed the quotation marks. Secondly, I added a reporting verb, which is said. Then I added that, which is optional. I changed the pronoun you to we. I changed the verb from did to had done. This is what we call back shifting. Then I changed other time expressions in the sentence, like yesterday becomes the day before. So when we use reported speech, we usually change the tense of the verb. We make the verb form go one tense back. This is what we call back shifting. What I mean by this, if I have a sentence in the present, I change it to past, and from past to past perfect, but I have to keep the aspect of the tense. What I mean by this, if I have a sentence in a present simple, I change it to past simple, present continuous to past continuous, present perfect to past perfect. So I have to keep the aspect of simple or continuous or perfect. I only change the time, like the helping verb. Okay, and also I changed other things in the sentence. I changed the pronoun, I changed the time expressions plus the tense. So it's the rule of 3 by 3. Three tenses, back shifting, and 3 things to change in a sentence. Okay. Another focus we have to put our attention on here is the reporting verbs. We have different types of reporting verbs that I can use in reported speech when I retell or when I report what other people said about something. So here you can practice. If you press these links, you can practice using these verb patterns, but you have to know that some verbs take or these verbs are followed by to plus an infinitive, like she claims to be innocent, to be infinitive. I can't use, for example, after agree, I can't use ing, while other verbs I use I have to split the verb, the reporting verb, by a person. He, okay, he advised me to study well. He advised to, no, he advised me, not he advised to, he advised me to study well. Other verbs take preposition plus ing. So like accuse somebody of stealing. Sarah accused Selma of stealing her pencil case. Okay? Other verbs should be followed by that and then a clause. So, like insist. She insisted that she needed her lawyer. So insist is followed by that clause. So you can practice more on these patterns using these links. This part is very, very, very important for your exam. Okay, remember that as what we said before, in direct speech, I have these tenses, so to report them, to change them into reported speech, I have to backshift them, which means from present simple to to past simple, so eats, ate. Present continuous is eating or are eating becomes was eating or were eating. Present perfect has eaten to past perfect had eaten. Past simple ate to past perfect had eaten. Past perfect had eaten stays the same, had eaten, because past perfect is the past of the past. There's no action that happened before the past perfect. I have also um, modal verbs that I need to change in reported speech. So if I have will, it becomes would, can, could, may, might, must or have to, had to, while the rest might, could, would, ought to, should already in the past, so we keep them the same. I have other time expressions, okay, that I need to change in reported speech. So now comes then, yesterday, the day before, last week, the week before, today, that day, tomorrow, the next day or the following day, next week, the next week, here, there, this, that, these, those. Okay, let's practice now reporting this statement. Basil said, I bought a new phone for my dad yesterday. I have to change all these underlined words, starting by removing the quotation marks and adding a reporting verb. So I say Basil said, then add that. Basil said that. Then the subject, I. Basil is the one who said that. So instead of saying I'm going to change this one to he. So Basil said that he. Now both I have to backshift this one from past simple to past perfect. So Basil said that he had bought a new phone for my dad, no, for his dad. When? The day before. So I added that. I changed the subject from I to he. Then I changed the verb from had bought. Another time I changed the pronoun. Then the day before I changed my time expression. Okay, let's practice these two examples. I'm thinking of going to live in Canada. He said that he was thinking. I have to backshift from present continuous to past continuous. He said that he was thinking of going to live in Canada. We didn't wear uniforms on the first day. The students said that. I have the verb didn't wear, so this is past simple. I have to change it to past perfect. The students said that we becomes they, hadn't worn uniforms on the first day. Predict why the tense wasn't changed in the following. Water doesn't mix with oil. The teacher said that water doesn't mix with oil. So look here, I didn't change the tense. Doesn't mix stays the same. Doesn't mix. Why? Because this sentence expresses a scientific fact. So we don't change the tense in reported speech when we are reporting something that is always true or a scientific fact, or if we're talking about habits. Water boils at 100 Celsius, said Louise, or Jumana said that water boils at 100 Celsius. My name is Jane. This is a permanent situation. This is always true. She's not going to say that she said that her name was Jane. Her name is Jane. So when I say that water boils at 100 Celsius, said Jumana, to report this one, Jumana said that water boils at 100 Celsius because this expresses a fact. So we keep the verb the same, we don't backshift it to past. My name is Jane, she said that her name is Jane. This is always true, so I don't change it to past or to backshift. So here I have extra practices and links for you to practice reported speech. Here I'm talking about passives, specifically about modal verbs, passive or passive of modal verbs. What is passive? What is active? Active voice like Anna painted the house. So the order of the sentence is the subject, verb, and object, and it tells us what a person or what a thing does. So the subject here performs the action. In passive, it tells us what is done to someone or to something. So the subject is being acted upon, or the subject receives the action. The order of this passive voice will be object, verb plus subject. So when I say that Anna painted the house, this is active. Anna is the one who did this action. Here the house was painted. The house is not the one who did the action. The house actually received the action. The house received the action of the painting. So the house was painted by Anna. Okay. Modal auxiliary verbs in passives. We know that modal auxiliary verbs like can, could, shall, should, may, might, will, would, must, has to, have to, and so on. Okay? So she can speak Chinese. If I want to change this one to passive, I have to change the order. So Chinese is the object of the sentence. المفعول به. I take it to start my sentence with. So I say Chinese. What? Chinese can be spoken by her. Chinese can be spoken by her. What are the differences here? So Chinese, I started my object, I changed the object, then I added be plus past participle. Then I added what? By here. So step number 1, I take my object first, I keep the modal verbs, then step 3 I add be, then past participle, then 5 by, and number 6 I add the main subject. So verb 1 equals modal, be plus verb 3. We must preserve the tigers. So the tigers is my object. I'm going to start the sentence with the tigers. I keep must, but I have to add be, then I change this one to past participle. By whom? By us. Sometimes I need to change the form of the pronouns when it comes after a proposition. So the tigers must be preserved. This is the form of modals in passive voice. Subject, my new subject, which is originally was the object in the active voice. Then we add the modal verbs may, might, can, could, must, should, have to, need to, or even be supposed to, or be able to. Then be, then past participle. Okay. She has to help us. We have to be helped by her. She has to help us. Us is my new subject. So us becomes we, has to, because we now is plural, so I have to change the form of this model because you know has to and have to are semi-models. Have to be helped by her. Be helped by her. We have to learn English. So English is my object or my new subject that I'm going to start with. English. Have to? No, English singular. So I need to change have to has to. English has to be learned by us. I had to wait the bus. So I start with the bus. The bus had to be waited. Here be, sorry. Had to be waited by me. You know that we have also passive voice modal auxiliary verbs in past. So in past, instead of adding be plus verb 3 after the modal verbs, I have to add have been, then verb 3. So if I have a sentence like, I should have been helped you. I should have helped you. I is the subject, should have helped. This is the past modal verb. Then you is the object. To change this one to passive, so I start with you as my new subject. You should have been helped by me. Okay. Which sentence is correctly using a modal verb in the passive voice? The cake must bake for 30 minutes. No, I can't say the cake must bake because the cake is the thing that receives the action. The cake must be baked. The cake should bake. Is the cake the thing that going to do or to perform the action? No, the cake will bake for 30 minutes? No. So this one is the correct form. Must be baked. The same one here. The report can be write. The report can writing. The report can be written. Yeah, I know that. I have to use modal verb plus be plus verb 3 or past participle. So I always look for this pattern of passive verbs. Here, I have to look for modal verbs, be, then, past participle. So the project might be completed directly. It's the first one. Okay, the assignment should be finished. Also here, it's the first one. You can practice extra exercises on this topic by using this link. Okay, here we're talking about future perfect continuous. Pay attention. We're talking about the future. That means I'm going to use will. Perfect, I'm going to use have been. And continuous, I'm going to use ing. This spring, I will have been working on the climate change project for 3 years. So I started working on that project in the past, and now 3 years have passed, and I'm still working on that one till this spring. Okay? This spring is not the deadline of the project, but it's an indication that when when this time comes, that means I am going to be still working on that project. So this sentence means that the speaker is saying that they started working on this project almost 3 years ago, and that in spring it will be 3 years. But they didn't say that this project will be ended or finished this spring. But when this time comes, that means I'll be working on that one for 3 years. Okay. How do we form future perfect continuous? Will have been plus ing as what I said. When do we use this one? We use this one to talk about events and actions that are currently unfinished but will be finished at some future time. And usually it's used with a time expression. Okay, so usually I find 4 plus a period of time. When I finish this course, I will have been studying the environment for a decade. Wait. So look here, for a decade, which is 10 years. Okay, I will have been studying. I have a time expression, this time expression that we're talking about for a decade, to indicate that I use this form, will have been plus ing. By 2026, this is, let's say, the time, but it's not the deadline. Governments will have been working together and taking serious steps to combat climate change for several years. So this is the time expression that indicates I have to use future perfect continuous. This August, Samira will have been waiting for the outcome of her PhD studies for 6 months. So when this August comes, she will have been waiting for her outcome for 6 months. So I have always a time expression indicates that this action currently unfinished, but will be finished at some future time. Why do we use this form? We use it to focus on a duration, that this action takes a lot of time to be done and finished. Okay. By next month, I will have been working at this company for 10 years. That means that, or it's an ongoing action or event leading up to a specified point in the future. I always have time expression. Look here, by the time you arrive, I will have been waiting for 2 hours. By the end of the year, they will have been living in that house for 20 years. By tomorrow, she will have been practicing the piano for 5 hours. By the time the project is completed, we will have been working on it for 6 months. So time expression, this time expression comes in the same clause of the future perfect continuous. When do we use it? So we use it to indicate that something you started in the past or you're doing at the present will continue up to another action or moment in the future, or to show cause and effect. I'm not worried about the exams as I'll have been studying for several weeks before. Look here, I have for several weeks. The cause, what is the cause? As I have been studying for several weeks before the exams that will come in the future, this is the effect that I'm not worried about them. Okay, so how do we form them? Again, you can follow this rule. Subject, whatever the subject is, we use it with will, have been, plus ing. For negative, I just add not to will, so it becomes want, have been plus ing. For questions, we just switch the order between the subject and the modal verb, the auxiliary verb, the helping verb. So I start with will, then the subject, then have been plus ing. Let's practice here. My mom for 2 days by the time I see her. My mom. I'm talking about future perfect continuous. So I have to find will. I eliminate the first one. Will have or will has. Will is always followed by base verb, which is have. So B is the correct answer here. Here, will have been traveling. They will be exhausted by dinner. They will have been for 7 hours. They will have been. After have been, I need ing verb. They will have been playing. The teachers will have been striking for a month by the time the deal is made. Why? Why this one, not this one? Because I have a time expression that indicates the duration of the action. Why it's not the teachers will be striking? Because also we use future continuous to talk about an action that will be in progress at a specific time in the future. Yeah, but because I have this time expression to focus on duration, so my correct answer is this one. The teachers will have been striking. Okay, let's change these sentences into future perfect continuous. Next summer, they will travel. Next summer, they will travel around Europe for 6 months. So this sentence, by next summer, they will have been traveling around Europe for 6 months. By the time the guests arrive, we prepare dinner for 3 hours. So by the time the guests arrive, we will have been preparing dinner for 3 hours. Just give me a second to add the correct answer here. So I just added the correct answer for these two sentences. Okay. For extra practice on this topic, you can press here for extra links and practices. The last topic that we have in grammar is subordinating conjunctions, specifically talking about as long as, unless, and provided that when we use them with conditional sentences. So when I say populations of endangered species such as the Bengal tiger will increase provided that humans protect their habitat and stop hunting them, I have a condition and result. So when people stop hunting tigers and protect their habitats, this is the condition. The result or the effect will be that the number of tigers increases in the wild. Okay, so to connect the cause with the effect, or to connect the cause with the result, the condition, not cause and effect, no, the condition with the result, I used provided that, which means if in the condition or on the condition or if. So as long as, unless, or provided that can be used to connect a main and a conditionally clause. So yeah, as what I have just said, populations of endangered species will increase in the main sentence, provided that if the humans protect their habitat and stop hunting. So, in general, what is a subordinating conjunction? They are words or word phrases like provided that connect an independent clause. We said that a clause could be independent or dependent. So to connect an independent clause to a dependent one, creating a complex sentence. So dependent clauses add details to the independent clause, emphasizing the idea in the independent clause. So they also they also cannot stand by themselves because they don't convey or they don't have a full meaning or a complete thought. So they depend on the independent clause as what we said before. Now, we have some subordinating conjunctions that show cause and effect, like as, since, though, due to, provided that, or either condition and the result, because of and unless, cause and effect, or condition and a result. So as Sherry blew out the candles on top of her birthday cake, she caught her hair on fire. So this is a result. As Sherry blew, this is the cause, the effect, she caught her hair. He could not go to the party. This is the reason, let's say, because his homework, no, this is the reason, this is the result, because his homework was not finished. This is the reason, and this is the result. Due to his fear of sharks, the boy refused to swim in the ocean. So here is the reason. Due to is followed by a reason, and the independent one includes the effect or the result. I have some conditional relationships using if or unless or provided that, assuming that. Like, this is the house where I grew up. Everywhere I go, you always seem to be nearby. We can go to the park if you clean your room. Assuming that everyone is free this weekend, we can get together. Okay. Okay, let's practice now using different subordinating conjunctions, not only provided that or as long as also means whenever that this action or this condition is in progress, so a result will be also in progress, or if this condition happens as long as this action happens, the result also will be happening. The basement flooded. We spent all day cleaning up. So after, although, before, or even if. So I have two actions. We're talking about sequence of events. So after the basement flooded, we spent all day cleaning up. I don't want to go to the movies. I now here it's obvious that I have to give a reason. So which word of these I use to give a reason? Because I hate the smell of popcorn. I paid Larry. Okay. Garden design work is top notch. I'm talking about whose garden? Okay. Spring arrives, we have to be prepared for more snow. So it seems that the spring doesn't arrive yet. We're still in the snow season. So until spring arrives, until we have to be prepared for more snow. Last one, the alarm goes off, I hit the snooze button. As soon as, directly, as soon as yeah, okay. So the alarm goes off, I hit the snooze button. It's obviously as soon as directly the alarm goes off, I hit the snooze button. If you want to practice more on provided that, unless and as long as, you can use this link for extra practice. So we are done with the grammar part now. One point to add for the functional language. You can practice functional language using these links mentioned here. So the first topic for functional language, describing causes and consequences and effects. So we can use such phrases like as a result, as a consequence, due to. Due to always followed by the reason, as a consequence followed by the result, as a result, is followed by the result of the action. We have also describing past experiences and events, and we have different ways to talk about past, using simple past, using past continuous, using past perfect. We can use subordinating conjunction to connect two actions in the past. We can use also here participle. We used subordinate conjunction as soon as. We used also relative pronoun. So in functional language, we combine all grammar topics together to express some functional language points. The third one that we have is asking about or describing feelings and emotions. So, what's the matter? You can press this link for extra practices. Under the weather today, I'm feeling quite under the weather today. I'm experiencing. So, to talk about your feeling, I've had a change of heart. All these expressions are used to talk about feelings and emotions. He seemed to be suffering. Okay, so it's a good idea to use these phrases if you are talking or if you are expressing your feelings and emotion. Hopefully that you have benefited from my explanation. I'm going to add also this PowerPoint in the link. Thank you for listening and wish you all the best in your exam. Some of the relationships using F4 underscore by that is doing that. Now, this is the house where I grew up. Everywhere I go, you always seem to be nearby. We can go to the park if you need nearby. Assuming that everyone is free, we can get to. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's practice now using different because when mentions not only by that or as long as also means whether that this action or this function is in progress, so as also in progress or this function happens as long as this action happens, there's also will be happening. The base flooded, we spend all day cleaning up. So after all the before the F, so I have two actions. We're talking about sequence of events. So after the base flooded, we spend all day cleaning up. I don't want to go to the movies. I'm now here. It's obvious that I have chicken raisins. So which pair of these I used to with the things I hate the smell of popcorn. I'll be very okay. Garden design is top notch. I'm talking about whose garden. Okay. Spring arrives, we have to be prepared for more snow. So I see that spring doesn't like that. You're sitting now, snow season. So until spring arrives, until we have to be prepared for more snow. Last one, the alarm goes off, I hit this button. As soon as, directly, as soon as. Okay, so the alarm goes off, I hit this button. It's obviously as soon as light, the alarm goes off, I hit this button. If you want to practice more on divided that, understand as long as you can use the same for extra practice. So we are on the part now. One point to ask for the functional language. You can practice functional language using these things mentioned here. So the first one for functional language is writing words as sentences and facts. So we can use such phrases like as a result, as a consequence, due to always followed by the reason, as a sequence followed by the result, as a result, you know, is followed by the result of the action. We have also writing past experience and events, and we have different ways to talk about past. Using simple past, using past continuous, using past perfect. We can use subordinate conjunction to connect two actions in past. We can use also the participle. We use subordinate conjunction as well as. We use also relative pronoun. So in functional language, you combine all the grammatics together to express some functional language parts. The third one that we have is asking about describing feelings and emotions. So what's the matter? You can press the same for extra practices. Under the weather today, I'm feeling quite under the weather today. I'm experiencing. So to talk about your feeling, I've had a change of heart. All these expressions are used to talk about feelings and emotions. He seems to be suffering. Okay, so it's a good idea to use these phrases if you are talking or expressing your feelings and emotions. Hopefully that you have benefited from my explanation. I'm going to add also the PowerPoint in the link. Thank you for listening and wish you all the best.